Welcome to our presentation, Getting Started with Preventative Maintenance and Jira Service Management. During our session, you'll learn what preventative maintenance is, what teams can benefit from a preventative maintenance strategy, and you'll get a quick demo of preventative maintenance in action and how you can set this up yourself. Before we get moving, let me take a moment to introduce myself. My name is Kevin Patterson. I'm Principal Consultant at Detroit ESM Solutions, a Silver Atlassian partner. In my role, I spend a great deal of time with Atlassian customers helping plan and implement their enterprise service management, IT service management, and DevOps use cases on the Atlassian cloud platform. Today, I'll be talking to you about getting started with preventative maintenance use cases. So before we dive right in, let me go ahead and kind of introduce what is preventative maintenance. When we talk enterprise service management and IT service management, preventative maintenance is the cornerstone of operational excellence and business continuity. It's more than just a strategy. It's a proactive approach that ensures your IT and enterprise systems are always performing at their peak, mitigating risks before they escalate into costly downtimes. Preventative maintenance involves regular scheduled inspections and maintenance activities aimed at identifying and addressing potential issues before they disrupt your operations. By integrating preventative maintenance into your ESM and ITSM practices, you not only enhance the reliability and longevity of your infrastructure and systems, but also ensure compliance with industry regulations. So let's take a look at some teams that can benefit from preventative maintenance. Now, the three teams I've selected are IT, facilities, and finance. Let's start with IT. More than likely, your organization has IT teams that already have a preventative maintenance strategy. Common use cases in this domain are backing up vital databases or systems and/or patching up and updating systems like servers or end-user endpoints. A question to ask your team is, how do they schedule and track the work? Don't be surprised if you hear there is a team calendar that someone uses to manually create tasks for themselves or others to do. In fact, this is exactly what I did about 18 years ago. The next team let's talk about is facilities. Now, facilities is often overlooked in most enterprise service management projects, and preventative maintenance is going to be no exception here. Facilities team members often spend most of their day with preventative maintenance activities versus break fix. So automating this could be a huge win for their department. I'm going to talk more about facilities in a few minutes for our live demo. So for now, let's move on and talk a bit about finance. Finance might not be one you are too familiar with when it comes to preventative maintenance. You'll likely hear them refer to scheduled controls or scheduled activities when meeting with them to discuss preventative maintenance scheduling. Some common use cases here are Sarbanes-Oxley controls and supplier and contract management activities. Now, these are just three example teams you're going to speak to when you're looking at preventative maintenance strategies. Of course, many teams can benefit. These are the three that I've worked with recently in the past and I wanted to share with you all today. Now, the one I really wanted to highlight is going to be facilities. When you think of your facilities team, what comes to mind? For many, we tend to think of facilities as the people we call when something environmental is malfunctioning. It could be a leaky faucet in the men's room, maybe a bad spill in the office hallway, or hey, that overhead light's burned out. But in actuality, facilities is responsible for much, much more. In fact, most facilities teams are responsible for not only keeping the buildings operational, but for the health and safety infrastructure and assets within the building. On the screen, I've listed a few common things that facilities teams are going to manage. They're going to procure, they're going to check for operability, making sure they're fit for purpose. Lots of different things are going to be here. In fact, many of these are also under regulatory control, things like OSHA and others. So very critical for this team to be utilizing preventative maintenance in Jira Service Management. So let's take a look and see what that might look like. So I'm going to slide over to my demo environment. And the first place I want to start is in my facilities asset scheme. So here we see in my scheme, I've got a couple different object types under safety systems. I've got fire extinguisher, fire alarm, sprinklers. Let's take a look at my fire extinguishers. And notice here I've got quite a few attributes that are on my screen. We can see each object is going to have a few attributes, things like their location, the last maintenance date, If it's under scope for preventive maintenance, in fact, all these are, I can see the next scheduled maintenance date and the maintenance schedule, and I have mine in days 30. So we'll talk more about why these fields are required, but just know that your objects here are going to have a lot of details about the different devices that are under this. So here we can see where the device is located. We can see what the model is. I can see all that information at a glance. Now, if we go take a look at the facilities view, we're going to look and see here that I've got a few queues set up for all my open issues and all my open preventative maintenance work. Notice here I've got quite a few preventative maintenance tasks that have already been created. Let's go ahead and take a look at these. So this item here, FE001NYC, we can see some details about this activity. We can see that there's a fire extinguisher that needs some maintenance every 30 days. We have to do these following checks. Going through, I can see all that information here. I can see the target asset. So again, I can go through in facilities and I can see, oh, this device is located here. NYC theater number 1. And of course, at a glance, I get access to all those attributes I was showing you in my asset schema. Now, I did want to show you the model information. So you noticed how that description had a lot of information that told me how to provide this maintenance. That's all being pulled from the model. I've got an attribute called PM instructions that contains that information, but I've also got an attribute called PM Confluence, which is a link to a Confluence page I have that actually details how to provide this maintenance. And if we take a look in my issue, we see all that front and center on the screen. I see those work instructions that right to Confluence. I see the asset tied to the record. I see that all in one place. So this makes it easy for the facilities team member to have all that information at their fingertips without having to go around and hunt for this information. So making it quick and easy for them to get that job done. So we talked about the assets being the core piece of what stores the information, but how do I get this to spawn on a schedule? For that, we're going to need to leverage Atlassian's automation rules. In fact, I've got a series of rules, and we're going to drill and look at one of those rules now called Preventative Maintenance. So this is part 1 of 2 rules that I used for doing my preventative maintenance. Here we see a couple key factors here. We got the when it's triggered, and I run mine on a schedule every day at 11 a.m. Of course, you're free to run yours any time of the day or multiple times per day if you'd like. The second part of this automation rule is going to be what is in scope for preventative maintenance. So I've got an AQL function looking at quite a few things here. I've got some object types for fire extinguishers, for HVAC systems, for alarm systems, sprinkler systems, the list goes on, right? So the first part of my AQL query is going to be identifying the object types that I want to measure and see if they are due for maintenance. That's step 1. Now, step 2, after this and here, is going to be looking for those objects which has preventative maintenance flagged as true. So if we think back to our object schemes, that's going to be this item right here. If that's not true, it's not going to pass that check. So that's the second thing it's going to be looking for. And the next bit is we're looking for a next scheduled maintenance day being today's date. And again, if we go back to our previous item here, we can actually see this one here was scheduled to run on the 17th, which was yesterday. So that one's still open. So this is what we're using for that particular item. And in fact, if we go to our NYC item from this particular one here, we should see that it is right here, June 18th, and that's why it was created today, the day of our recording. So that's how we're putting that together with automation, is looking for object types, looking for that flag for maintenance being true, and looking for the day being today. Now, I've done this a couple different ways. You can do this weekly, where you're looking for all maintenance for the entire week and then have that run once a week. You can do it daily, monthly. We just have to manipulate and modify the query we use and the logic we use in the automation rule. So that's really the big one you need. Now, there's 2 more parts to this. I do a lookup object. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass the key from what's found here into a lookup object so I can extract more information. And I'll show you why I do that. If we go down to create the issue, I can see how I'm just putting the object name inside the summary. Asset is the object name. But here's where and why I do that lookup objects. Those maintenance instructions that are located against the model, I do that so I can pull those in and put that in the body. The same with the work instructions. That lookup objects I do enables me to do that and to grab that information from assets and bring that over into my issue. So great way to do it. So that's the first part. There's going to be a second automation rule that runs, kind of a standard automation rule that when those preventative maintenance issues are completed and resolved, I would go back in and update the last maintenance date with the date that work was completed, which is kind of a closed loop for keeping these things in line. The reason why I do that is because while these tasks might all be created the same day, it might take me a few days to get the work done. So I want that to be reflected with the actual date I completed it. So that's why I handle it this way. But of course, this is one model. You're free to choose different models that matches what you're trying to accomplish for your preventative maintenance strategy. So let's go back and talk a little more about that. So there's going to be three things you're going to need in your environment to make this a reality. Step number one is assets. Now, I'm hoping you have an asset schema already created for your facilities or IT or whatever teams in scope here. If not, you're going to need to store and track that in assets to make this happen in reality. So that's going to be step one, is making sure assets is set up and running in your environment. Now, for preventative maintenance to work correctly, you're going to need to create a few different attributes on your objects. You're going to need one to kind of flag for that true or false if it's in scope for preventative maintenance. That's the first step you're going to need to do for your attributes. You're going to want a previous or last maintenance date, next scheduled maintenance date, and a maintenance schedule, whether it's 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 180 days, or whatever you're using for how you want to auto schedule those days. So that's going to be step one with assets. Now, step two is the issue type. This is optional, but I do encourage you to use a separate issue type for preventative maintenance. There's a couple reasons why I do this. First and foremost, it makes it a lot easier for people to set up dashboards and reporting on that aren't very technical. So most IT teams aren't as savvy with the dashboard controls as IT folks would be. So this just gives them an easy way to filter those preventative maintenance activities. That's one reason. The second reason is when we talk about SLAs, I typically don't see people putting SLAs on these type of tasks. So this makes it easy to be able to exclude that. So again, optional, but it is a nice something I would consider doing if you're going to get this set up in your environment. The third component, and probably one of the more complicated to set up, is going to be your automation rules. So you're going to need a couple automation rules here. I showed you one example a few moments ago, but you're going to want to make sure the automation rule has logic to run on a schedule, and on that schedule find the right objects that are in scope for preventative maintenance, and checking the last maintenance date and seeing if it should be spawning today, like we were showing earlier. So those are the three things you're going to need in your environment to get up and running there. So we talked about getting up and running, but why would you want to get up and running? What's the benefits of adopting preventative maintenance practices at your organization? There's quite a few. In fact, I'm going to talk about the four big ones that I see the most, or hear folks talking about the most. So if you can kind of talk to your team and see if it's something you want to investigate at your organization. The first, and probably the most important for some customers, is going to be regulatory compliance. Sarbanes-Oxley is one that comes to mind. So you really want to ensure accurate and complete record keeping of maintenance activities that can support internal controls over financial reporting. Automated systems provide audit trails and documentation, reducing the risk of non-compliance. So when you think about SOX, having this auto create these different controls for people to be assigned to work and save, that's all going to be tracked, and it's going to be there from an audit perspective. So great way to de-risk that is to have that be in JSM. The second part here, this is more geared toward facilities, is OSHA, Occupational Safety and Health Administration. Documenting and scheduling regular maintenance tasks can help in meeting the OSHA requirements for workplace safety, ensuring that all necessary inspections and repairs are conducted timely to prevent workplace accidents. So that's regulatory compliance. Next up is operational efficiency. So automation minimizes the risk of human error and task scheduling and tracking, ensuring that maintenance activities are neither overlooked nor duplicated. Automation also reduces the administrative burden on staff, bringing them to focus on more value-added activities like actually doing the work versus creating tasks to track that work. So the efficiency gains are going to be noticeable by your teams if you adopt a preventative maintenance strategy like we're showing here. Next up is the enhanced reliability and performance. So automating your preventative maintenance tasks help in identifying and addressing potential issues before they escalate into costly repairs or downtime. This ensures that continuous and reliable operation of your assets and equipment. Regular maintenance helps extend the lifespan of equipment, providing better returns on asset investment. And that kind of dovetails into costs and ROI savings, our last item here. So proactive maintenance reduces unplanned downtime, which can be costly in terms of both lost productivity and emergency repair expenses. So these are four pillars of things you can expect when you're working with preventative maintenance at your organization. You might have a few extras here, but these are the four that I focus on when you're trying to determine if you should move forward with a project to add this in your environment. So now that we discussed the benefits and shown the ease of use for preventative maintenance use cases in JSM, I'd like to take a moment to tell you about Adroit ESM solutions and some of the other exciting things we're working on. We are a relatively new silver solutions partner in the Atlassian ecosystem, founded by a former Atlassian. We are 100% focused on helping Atlassian customers realize their ITSM, ESM, and DevOps goals and objectives on the Atlassian cloud platform. We help customers achieve this goal through our consultancy advisory services for Jira Service Management, Jira Software, Confluence, Opsgenie, both standalone Opsgenie as well as the new JSM merge features, as well as Status Page. It's a pleasure to be working alongside our customers and other partners on the Atlassian platform. So thank you for attending our session on preventative maintenance today. If you have not developed a preventative maintenance strategy, I hope this session will be a catalyst to inspire you. For those that already have a strategy in place, I hope you found this session helpful on how you can automate your preventative maintenance tasks and activities using assets and automation in JSM. If you run into any issues putting this into practice, what you learned today, or need any ITSM or ESM help on the Atlassian platform, we stand ready to help. Feel free to reach out to our team via sales@adroitesmsolutions.com or submit an inquiry through the website and get in touch. It was great meeting you all today, and have a great day.